trust, connection, and deeper understanding. And that the belief is, and it's certainly my experience and others, that fostering those things is going to lead to good results, both in terms of the relationship and in terms of getting stuff done. So, I'm going to talk about paraphrasing and drawing people out today because that was the request, to focus on those two. They are the bread and butter of doing this work. Paraphrasing. What is it? Again, it's just like you think, just like the definition says in the dictionary. It's playing back what you heard in order to help people both know that you understood them and to understand how they've been heard. As we discussed, there's a lot of traps with paraphrasing, and I'll talk about those in a few minutes. What's drawing out? Drawing out is the partner to paraphrasing. It comes after paraphrasing, and it's all about asking learning questions, not leading questions. Again, we talked about what a leading question might be, something that you're interested in that might seem really fascinating to you to have answered, but in fact isn't following the lead of the person who is speaking. A learning question is following the lead of the speaker and is essentially saying to that person, hey, I'm very interested, I want to know more. So, let's play this out. Paraphrasing. Again, what are the traps? Maybe you're a fixer, and your tendency, halfway through someone's soliloquy, short or long, is to offer them a solution. That's often not helpful, but sometimes we can't help ourselves. Or maybe you get distracted and you start thinking about, I don't know, your dinner or a meeting that's coming up, and you lose focus. Maybe you want to talk about yourself because you think that's so important that you just can't help but share the time that it happened to you. And maybe you just don't really care and you can't find that empathy, that connection to what they're saying. In all of these cases, it's very likely that you will lose the speaker and that your attempt to paraphrase will not come off the way you want it to. It will be, let's just say, accented by your own frame of reference, your own opinion, your own point of view. In fact, some people paraphrase with a solution in it. Some people paraphrase with a judgment in it. Some people paraphrase with apathy in it. To be fully present, to be fully engaged, requires very difficult work. There is no easy listening. So, paraphrasing, number one tool, be aware of your tendencies. Once you're aware of them, you can get better and better at this. And the exercise that we did, as you recall, tunes you into those tendencies. So, with paraphrasing and drawing out, we're going to use those in a little bit of a simulation here. I'm going to be a funder for your organization, and I'm going to speak, and then I'm going to show you what I would do as a paraphrase and what I would do to draw someone out. I'm very interested in funding your program. I love the young entrepreneurship project that has been happening for the last few years, and I want you to know that as much as I care about the project and want to invest in it, I do have some specific requests. I would even say requirements. The main one is this. I want the money to go to young people who have not had the advantages that others have. Now, I know your program does, and beautifully, I think, include young people from all backgrounds, whether they're advantaged or disadvantaged, privileged or not privileged. I feel convinced that the emphasis should be more, at least with my money, on helping those who need to be propped up. And that is, for me, a priority so much so that I would be comfortable with having less given to those who have had the advantages in the past, because I think this value is so important, and that's what's important to me. So if I were listening to that, I would probably have a paraphrase that looks something like this. So, David, I just want to make sure I got what you said right, because it sounds like it's very important to you that we understand this in our organization. As a funder, you fully support the Young Entrepreneurship Program, which is great. And it sounds like you want to continue supporting it with the specific focus on, let's just say, a more equitable funding approach, meaning that you want to prioritize those who have not had the privilege and advantage in their lives thus far, and put your funding in that direction, and are very willing and happy to not have the funding go towards those who have had that privilege. And that your belief is that right here, right now, for you, that's what is going to engage you most and your funding with our organization. Did I get that right? I just want to make sure that I heard you. And let's say I did. Let's say David says that I did hear him well. Well, now as a person from the organization, I'm at a pivot point, because I could maybe offer David a brochure and say, you know what, I've got the program for you. I think this project actually has a strategy on it that I think you would want to support, because it does touch on inner city kids who we're offering opportunities for in this area. It could be a good fit for you. I'd like you to look at it. Or I could ask a question like, have you thought about ideas like, in addition to young entrepreneurship, perhaps youth empowerment that's similar to that, but we have a great program on that. I'm wondering if that's interesting to you. But how about if I asked a learning question? And the learning question could look something like this. All right, David, so definitely hear that this more equitable approach for you is paramount. But I want to know more. I'm really interested. What's at the root of your thinking? How did you get there? Why is this so important to you? I'm really curious, and it'll help me be able to be helpful for you if I can understand sort of what's at the root of this passion that you have for this particular group and for this funding opportunity. And let's say now I'm David again, and I say, well, I'm glad you asked. I grew up poor. You wouldn't know it if I didn't tell you, but I did. And I had someone in my life who trusted me when I was 17 years old, who took me under his wing and said, you've got something. I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance to thrive. And in this case, he pushed me forward years beyond my capabilities, or at least I thought so at the time. And I got to try something and do something that, in the end, ended up being pretty much what I do today. Just the beginning of it. And I guess, for me, what I want is for others to have that chance too. And I'm willing to put my resources into it, because not just because I want to give back, because I know it's the right thing. And I think it's the right thing for your organization. I want to support you to do that and move in that direction. Okay, so now we've learned something, and I, as the organizational representative, have learned something from my funder. that I didn't know before, that's going to help me in so many ways. It's ridiculous to even start talking about them because they're obvious. But the most important thing that I did there is I asked the right question. And the lead up to that was a very solid paraphrase where my neutrality was clear. I put my perspective over to the side, because to be facilitative is to suspend sharing your perspective and opinion so that you can make room for the other. And that's the key to it. Pretty much the discipline. It's a muscle we can build. It's not easy, but with practice and perseverance, it can come. And the payoff is huge. So next time, I'll be talking about the other 3 skills, but hopefully this was helpful for now, and thanks very much for listening.